Okay, so hello. Welcome to the first official USM Athletic Training Virtual Open House. My name is Dr. Parr. I am the Program Director for the Athletic Training Program here at Southern Miss. We're going to start off, I'll let the faculty introduce themselves. So Dr. O.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Leslie Oglesby. Everybody calls me Dr. O for short, and I am the Clinical Education Coordinator for the program.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Melissa Kay. I'm a faculty member within the athletic training program as well.
Okay, and then Mandy, do you want to introduce yourself real quick as our special guest?
Sure. My name is Mandy Tang-Hobbs, and I actually work to support the College of Nursing and Health Professions, and athletic training being one of those health professions. And so I mainly deal in recruitment, which is kind of part of the reason I'm here today.
So Mandy may be able to answer some questions that you guys have more specific to the university and the college that we can't answer. So we're happy that she could join us for this today. So let me start. We are going to share a presentation with you guys. So let me pull that up. Okay. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk, not on here, but first about the university as a whole. We'll talk about some program information. Dr. Oglesby will talk about your clinical experiences. Dr. K will talk about research at the university. And then I'll kind of finish off with how to apply in the application process. And we'll definitely have some time at the very end for question and answers. So for those who are not aware, the University of Southern Miss, or Southern Mississippi, is located in Hattiesburg. We are a little over an hour north of the Gulf Coast. So we are referred to as the hub city because of our relation to major cities fairly close to us. We're within 2 hours of Mobile, Jackson, Mississippi, New Orleans, Louisiana, and only a little over an hour from like Biloxi and Gulfport. So a lot going on here, a lot of exciting things in Hattiesburg. So, you know, outside of the university, this is kind of a great area for schooling. But let's get in and talk a little bit about the program. So our new Master's of Science in Athletic Training is going to be a 2-year, 6-semester program. You will start in the summer, and the semesters will go summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. And our graduation usually occurs in early May. So the prerequisites to get into our program, you can see listed here. You'll need biology with lab, chemistry with lab, physics with lab, human anatomy and physiology with lab, and it's got to be 8 credits worth. Most colleges offer this as an A&P 1 and an A&P 2. There are some colleges that offer it as human anatomy and human physiology separately. They all count. Biomechanics, exercise physiology, nutrition, psychology, and then a college algebra or higher course. What courses we accept are pretty much up to me. So if you have questions about that, you can send me a transcript and I can look through and tell you if it's a course that we would accept or not. So with the prerequisites, they need to be completed prior to beginning our program. So you don't need to have these finished before you apply, just before you start day 1 of our program. So, you know, as long as you finish those with your bachelor's degree, or if you take a, we call it here a May session or a summer intersession. It's a 3-week intensive study. And if you need it to take any of the remaining prereqs, that would potentially be an option. Some other additional requirements for the program. You need to have a minimum 2.8 cumulative collegiate GPA, which we will verify through transcripts. You'll need to take the GRE. This year, Southern Miss is waiving the requirement for transcripts. They did for the spring, they are for the summer, and I believe they are again for the fall. After that, we're not sure what's going to happen. As long as Southern Miss waives the requirement for GREs, the athletic training program will waive that requirement as well. In addition, you will need to submit a resume and a cover letter. We have 3 writing prompts. Each writing prompt is a maximum of 300 words. You'll need to have 100 hours of clinical observation, and 80 of those hours must be under an athletic trainer. And then lastly, we request that you submit 3 letters of recommendation that are either academic or professional. And this is what the program layout looks like. So you can see you start in the summer of academic year 1, taking foundational concept courses in a lab and an emergency and preventative care where we will make sure that you are certified in CPR, and you take an advanced kinesiology course. This is a pro-section of cadaver anatomy taught over in the School of Kinesiology. So it'll give you a more advanced understanding of human anatomy. Then we move in to the program, kind of get into our meat and bones where you're learning the skills necessary to be an athletic trainer. In addition to that, you will start to have some classes related to research because there will be a research component that Dr. K will talk about. You can kind of see in our program layout, the first year is a little bit more heavily loaded. The second year ends up being a little bit lighter, especially as we get towards the spring, because we want you focusing on finalizing your research project and preparing yourself for our National Board of Certification exam. So now we'll have Dr. Oglesby talk to you a little bit about your clinical experiences.
Thank you. So many professions out there, you go to college and get a degree in that profession, you don't really get any hands-on experience during your college education. You go through this 4 years or more of college, you get a degree, and you go into a job, you haven't actually done it all before. So healthcare has definitely moved away from that in general. And athletic training has been doing that for a very long time. And that we have required clinical experiences for athletic training while you're receiving your degree. And as we move to the master's program, this has not changed at all. So we'll be requiring clinical experiences of you every semester you're in the program, except for the first semester. That first summer, we're teaching you just some basic skills to make you a little bit more prepared when you actually get into your clinical experiences. And so you'll start first fall of your first year doing this. And so what's it like? So you're going to do about 150, 300 hours per semester with your clinical site. And this site will change every semester. And we'll talk about what some of those may look like on the following slide. So this breaks down to about 10 to 20 hours per week that you'll be doing at your clinical sites. And what does that look like exactly? So you'll be working with either a specific team or with a high school in our area or a local community college or other university around here. And you will be working with the athletic trainers at those locations, doing what they do. You'll be taking the skills that you're learning in the classroom and you're going to put them into practice. And so you're going to be learning how these skills actually work in a clinical site and perfecting them so that when you leave this program, you're ready to do your job and do it well. The second fall that you're in our program, so your fifth semester in our program, you'll do what's called clinical immersion. And we do this for about half of that fall semester, where the first half of that semester, you're not taking any classes. You are in the clinical site all day, every day. And this is to give you a really solid idea of exactly what this profession looks like, because you will be balancing your time up until this point between your clinical experience and your academic experience. But for this little bit of time, it's usually about 6 to 8 weeks, You're going to be there all day long with the athletic trainers, seeing exactly what their job looks like every bit of the day, including those times you weren't there, the first several semesters. And so again, during this time frame, you take no classes. You are just immersed in your clinical site. And then for the second half of the semester, you do have a couple of half semester classes you'll be taking, along with going back to that reduced amount of time at your clinical site. The second summer you're in the program, we're going to do what we've been doing so far with our undergraduate program. We're just going to keep this going, is you're going to do some mini rotations, where instead of being with a team for an extended period of time or being at a specific site for a long period of time, we're going to have you doing shorter rotations at some more unique locations that aren't quite as common for athletic trainers, but we are starting to see more and more growth in those areas. Some examples would be maybe doing a couple of weeks of rotation at a physical therapy clinic, or a couple of weeks at a sports medicine clinic, or doing a couple of weeks just at our student health center here on campus, so that you can see more general medical conditions and illnesses rather than injury. We also currently require our students to do at least one 12-hour shift with our local ambulance crew. And that is something we are also expecting to carry forward as well. And so that is something that will happen your second summer that's unique to that one semester. And again, your experiences will be both on campus and off campus. And on this next slide, if you'd please change the slide, Dr. Parr, I have some examples of where you may go. So on campus, our current clinical sites are most of our athletic teams here at Southern Miss, which all participate within Conference USA, which is Division I NCAA athletics. So we will be doing football, baseball, softball, women's volleyball, beach volleyball, which is also just women's, track and field, cross country, which is men and women's, women's soccer, and then men's and women's basketball. We do have a couple other sports here, including tennis. And as our needs grow and as our availability for athletic trainers who work with those sites will increase, we may be able to expand to those sites being more full-time as well. Off campus, we currently have one local university, William Carey University, which is an NAIA school that we currently use as the clinical site. We also have 5 local high schools, which is Hattiesburg High School, Oak Grove High School, North Forest, Purvis High School, and Petal High School. These are all different sizes from 1A up to 5A, or 6A, I believe, actually, within our area. And we have other high schools in the area that we're looking to expand to potentially. And also we're currently in discussions with our local junior college, Jones College, to expand to theirs as a clinical site as well. And so we are having conversations with them. A lot of this will be based on need. As we move along, as our program grows, as we need more clinical sites to put our students at, then we will see more of these sites come into the picture. And I believe that is all I have for this slide. And I believe it is Dr. Kay's turn to talk to you about research.
All right. Hi, everybody. I get the fun job of talking to you about the really, really scary part of our program, which is research. So some of you may have done research in the past at your institutions, others may not have, and that's perfectly fine. When I went to do my master's program, I had to write a thesis project and I had never touched research ever in my life. So I know that it can be daunting, but it's definitely doable. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the research expectation looks like, and then some ways that we make it easier for you by sort of integrating that into the process of class. So Dr. Parr, thank you. So at the end of the time in your program, what you are going to do is complete what's called a capstone project, which will look a little bit different from person to person. The idea is that you are going to work with one of us as a faculty mentor to pick a topic or a research question, and then you're going to be responsible in conjunction with that faculty member and potentially fellow students, depending on the topic, to design your research study, collect data, analyze data, and tell us all what it means through this written document. So the capstone project, it can be structured as heavily as a typical thesis project, but it also can be sort of pared down a little bit if research is something that you do not want to do long term. This can be as clinically applicable as possible, or it can be as research intensive as possible. So we'll work with you all during this process to really think through sort of what you want to do after you're done with the program and where you want to go after the program, and making sure that you all pick a project that meets those needs. Dr. Parr. So in terms of how we integrate this into the classroom, you saw probably the class about research design and statistics, which is the easiest way to think about how is research integrated into classes, because you have a class dedicated to it. But because we are a health profession, one of the things that we utilize oftentimes is called evidence-based practice. And that's where you take sort of the best available research along with your patient values and along with your clinical experience to sort of figure out the pieces of the puzzle of what's wrong with a patient. And so you do this in order to make sure that you're providing the best possible patient care. So this starts with asking a question, and you will get a lot of experience doing that in your classes. You're going to acquire new knowledge in your classes. You're going to be able to apply that knowledge in your classes. And then through this research project, you're going to be able to figure out whether or not it works, right? And what does it do? So evidence-based practice is something that you'll see throughout each one of the courses that you take. And then specifically how it relates to your research project might differ depending on the topic of your project. But there is going to be some type of research component in every single course. And in some courses that might be about asking questions. In others, that might be about appraising evidence and figuring out what good research is and what bad research is. And in others, that might actually be applying certain techniques. So that's kind of how we weave it through. Dr. Parr. Awesome. So I've talked about this a little bit, but depending on the different classes that you have, they kind of do different pieces of the research puzzle. So early on in your career, you're really going to be in more of that defining and searching phase of what is research, what does it mean? Then you'll move into the appraising and synthesizing phase. So is it any good and what do we do with it? And then moving on to the adapting and implementing. And that's really where your project comes into play of adding something new to our body of research. So what does your project tell future athletic trainers about what they should be able to do based off of what you found? So even though you have a class dedicated to Capstone, and even though you have a class dedicated to research, you'll have different projects within each class that bring in research as a particular component. So we mentioned the research methods class in particular. That class will really introduce you to the different types of research that are available. And those types of research is sort of where you can go with your project. So research in general can be very new for people. And some people will gravitate towards different things, and that's perfectly fine. So through these classes, we want to introduce you all to different methods of research because they all have merit and they all introduce something new to the table. So for example, quantitative research is all about numbers, whereas qualitative research is all about words. So what do the numbers tell us and where do the words help us fill in those gaps? So using those things in tandem is what's called mixed methods research. And that's where we can get a lot of bang for our buck in terms of it is easy to collect and it gives us a lot of depth to what we're collecting. So we know how best to move forward. So that's just an example of our research design and statistics course. But then through that, you'll be figuring out sort of the analytical side of research through your other classes as well. So you're gonna have to click a few times, Dr. Parr, but in terms of how we approach research in particular, we mentioned that you all will have a faculty advisor or a faculty mentor, and you'll work with us to find a topic of interest for you. I'm going to tell you right now, I will fight for you all to have something that you truly care about. It's not an easy process. Getting a master's degree is never easy, but it certainly makes it much more enjoyable if you care about what you're researching. So these are just a few of our areas of expertise. So Dr. Oglesby really specializes in burnout. And so you can see that battery level dropping, right? And sometimes that's how we feel if we start with the full tank and over time it just kind of, we turn towards empty. And so his job is really focused on determining what factors affect burnout and how we can overcome burnout. And then Dr. Parr really specializes in injury prevention, which is how do we keep injuries from happening in the first place? And then if they do happen, how do we keep them from getting any worse? And then for me, myself, I primarily do concussion research, but less of what is a concussion and more of why do people behave the way that they do. So why do they tell people that they've been hurt or not? Why do they report their symptoms? What do they struggle with in terms of returning to sport or returning to school? And so that leads to sort of issues of sport safety and sport culture more globally. So that's where a lot of my research lies. And Dr. Parr, if you can hit 3 more times, I think, nope, I lied, don't go back. My apologies. We all have different methodological expertises too. So I mentioned that there's different types of research in terms of quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. So Dr. Oglesby does a lot of survey research, which can be quantitative or qualitative. Dr. Parr does a lot of clinical research, or where there's more data collection that happens in a lab setting. And then I do a lot of mixed methods where I take sort of both of those worlds and bring them together to add context to a problem. So as you can see through our research interests, you really have a pretty wide spectrum of areas of expertise with us, that if you have an idea for a research project or even a topic that just speaks to you, then you can sort of see who your faculty advisor might be in that role. And it's important to note that we all always work together. So even if your faculty advisor is different, if you have a project that sort of teeters 2 of the lines of research that we have going on, we'll work together to make that happen for you. And that is it.
And in addition to what Dr. K says, we have faculty expertise across campus that may interest you. Your faculty mentor does not have to be within our program. It doesn't need to even be within our college. You may have an interest in sports psychology, and we have 2 faculty members over in the School of Kinesiology who that is their focus. We have several people who look at physical activity in special populations, individuals who look at concussion related to helmet wear. So, you know, you can find anyone on campus and we can help you identify somebody who may have an expertise in something that you're interested in. And along with the 3 of us, we can help guide you along in this process. So don't think that, oh, I have to have an interest in one of these 3 areas. You know, these are our primary interests, but even we kind of expand. We've been working on a project this year looking at how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected athletic training education. And that's not listed anywhere here. So, you know, we do branch out and do other things as well. So I guess I get to finish up. I'm going to talk a little bit about the application process. So earlier on, we looked at the requirements to actually apply to the program. You do that through the graduate school webpage on the Southern Miss website. You'll be required to create an account and to submit an application. There is a $60 application fee. On there, you'll see a few things, one of those being technical standards. Those you pretty much download, read, sign, and then upload them back into the system. The other things like the resume, the cover letter, obviously that will also come for you. The other thing we have in there is an observation hour sheet. So if you don't have something that you've been tracking hours on or that you need to do, you can get that from us to be able to document that as well. Following the submission of the application, the committee reviews it. The application committee is made up of obviously myself, Dr. Oglesby, and Dr. K. And in addition, we have a 4th member who is the liaison from athletics, Miss Julie Butler. She is the staff athletic trainer with women's soccer and a former graduate of our program. So the 4 of us review your applications. We score the application and then determine do you qualify for an interview? Interviews will be done either in person if you wish to come to campus. Obviously, we do currently have some COVID restrictions with that. Or we will do, virtual via Zoom or some other platform as well. Interviews are, fairly short. They're only 20 to 30 minutes max. And we score the interview. We combine your application score and your interview score, and we get an overall ranking score. And that's how we decide if we admit you to the program. So with that, we have a few deadlines. Our priority deadline for application every year is going to be February 15th. So if you apply by this time, you will have your application reviewed. And as long as you score high enough, you will get an interview. After that, we accept candidates on a rolling basis. So the final deadline via the university for the application to be submitted is May 15th. But at any point after February 15th, if we'd filled every slot available in our program, we won't even review your application. So reviews do begin March 1st, and that's when interviews start as well. So you could potentially know whether you're accepted, waitlisted, or denied by mid-March. And that's the end of the formal presentation. If Dr. K or Dr. Oglesby have thought of anything else during the presentation, I'll let them chime in now. Otherwise, we will open it to some question and answer.
One thing I would like to just make super, super clear is that we do require a completed bachelor's degree prior to matriculating into our program. So not only do you have to meet the prereqs, but you actually have to have a bachelor's degree as well. So I just wanted to make that clear.
I was going to hop on really quickly. Someone who's also in this right now is Miss Sonia Adams. She's the head advisor of the College of Nursing and Health Professions. And I just wanted to, I gave her a heads up. So there she is. I just wanted to kind of put a face to the name, guys, in case you have any questions about where you stand right now with your prerequisites and what you have left to be eligible for this master's program. And I don't know, maybe we can get her information out to the people that are viewing. So if they want to contact Miss Sonia, just to see, like, are they on track to be able to apply for summer?
Okay. So do we have any questions from the students who are attending? Okay, well, if you guys don't have any questions, we will end the session. We've gone about 30 minutes, which, is kind of ideal. We didn't want to make this too long. The three faculty members will hang on for a few minutes in case someone wanted to ask a question, but maybe didn't want to do it in front of everybody or while we're recording. I will be stopping the recording here in a moment. But if you have questions after the fact, you hang up and later tonight you think, oh, I should have asked them this. Our email addresses are on the website. You can Google USM athletic training and it should bring you right to our website. Make sure that you do click on the one that is Southern Mississippi. A lot of times I end up on Southern Maine. So just make sure that you're at the right university. Our website is being consistently updated, especially the athletic training homepage as we start making this transition. So there's not a ton of information on the webpage currently about the master's program. But as we get closer to the summer, you'll start seeing more and more information. So we appreciate everyone coming today and taking the time and interest in the Southern Miss Athletic Training Program. And we look forward to having you all here someday. Wish you the best of luck in your undergraduate programs. And please let us know if you have any questions. And Mandy was kind enough to put Ms. Sonia's email address in the chat box. So if you would like to contact her about any advising prereq, are you on track, anything, you can feel free to contact her. And we appreciate her being here as well.
Thank you guys so much.